Happy Thursday.
You know what it is? It's Throwback Thursday,
It is. It's throwback.
among other things. And I got a good one for us today. You, like everybody else, will have to wait for that when we get to that segment. We will also see what's going on with our friend Jen Naramore. I have no idea where she is.
Nope, neither do I.
Texted her yesterday and I said, I want to be completely surprised. And she said, Mum's the word. So,
Gotcha. Awesome.
Yeah. And it's cloudy and rainy here in Wilmington. How about down there in Florida?
It is sunny, but it's going to be smoky later. And I think that's one of the things we're going to be talking about today, too.
Absolutely. So why don't we get with it? Welcome to Talking Weather. Let's roll the intro. All right, we're back.
We are back.
For some reason, the YouTube, I did the duplication thing and I put a new thumbnail up, but the YouTube thumbnail for today is the one from yesterday. So I might have screwed something up. So while we're chit-chatting, I can put it in your C-Box.
Just throw it to my Discord and I'll
fix
it.
But I did. I updated it and everything. I thought I did everything right. So let me take care of that real quick. This will be our banter session for a moment.
You get to watch us handle things on the back end.
Let's see. So Scott says, I still really like the Talking Weather intro. Glad you're all doing the cold open. Yep. Appreciate that, Scott.
Awesome.
So let me fix this other thing here. Do you see what I'm talking about, CJ? Is it the old thumbnail from yesterday?
No, I only saw. Hold on. Yeah, this could be big. I see it.
Yeah, that's really weird. All right, so here's the thumbnail for today. It's in your Discord.
I heard it, badink.
And I thought I changed the title. By the way, yesterday's video, the live video, got demonetized.
I saw that.
I showed the trailer. Brendan Fraser filed a takedown request. I'm kidding.
No,
it wasn't Brendan. We could only be so lucky.
Right.
I got a notification late yesterday afternoon that this video can't be monetized. I was like, I wonder what we did wrong. And it was because I showed, apparently it wasn't enough to qualify for fair use because I showed a good chunk of it without commentary or other changeable whatever.
Right.
So focus features, they get the 9 cents that we earned from yesterday's show.
Yeah.
But it was good enough to show. And hey, we lost the revenue on that. You can have my quarter because that's going to be a cool movie. And we're looking forward to that. It's called Pressure. And the YouTube algorithm ain't messing around. You show copyrighted content, they will get you. But it's okay. No strikes, no problem. We just can't monetize yesterday's video.
Right.
Darn. Anyway, welcome to Talking Weather. Always technical stuff to try to overcome, but at least it works. We got the cold open now. We do have the title sequence that we have that seems to be working. So I'm going to jump over and show you guys what else we're going to talk about today. Not just, I got to remember. See, I've already screen share. There we go. And yes, we will do everything we will allow. And I think we're good. We good?
Yeah, we're good.
All right. So big changes are coming, not only with precip, especially where we need it. And I really hope this happens for Colorado. We'll talk about that. But warmth, we're headed towards meteorological spring on March 1st. Lots and lots to talk about regarding that. So there's our thumbnail for today on the YouTube. And so CJ's fixing all of that. I appreciate it. So the bullet points, got 5 of them for you. Could have added a 6th because, yes, we are going to talk to Jen Naramore later. And a special guest is coming by.
Interesting.
I like surprises, and I think you will too. But yeah, major pattern change. We got the Florida fires update. CJ can talk a little bit about that, and we can dig around on social media to find what we need if we need to. Severe weather season, in earnest. Severe weather can happen all 12 months out of the year. We know that,
right?
But severe weather season,
it's
the beginning of March. Yep, it's looming, and we're going to have to start discussing that more and more. And CJ, with that, there is a tweet from James Pettis that I saw that we're going to talk about. And then, of course, the Melissa Tropical Cyclone Report. And it's Throwback Thursday, and I got a good one for you. So stick around for that. And speaking of all sticking around and whatever, CJ, are you good through 11 o'clock for a little bit, or do you have a hard stop?
No, yeah, we're good today.
Nice.
Good today.
The special guest has to come on around 11. I'll just say that.
Interesting.
Yes. All right. I cheated, so to speak, and just used once in a while. Noah will make one of these. Sometimes they don't. And I figured, hey, I'll be lazy for this one and let this one be our map instead of me creating it. So here it is, the national high and low temperatures, courtesy of the Weather Prediction Center. And they created this in the overnight hours last night of 1 Zulu time. And we appreciate it because it gave me an extra 3 minutes to watch something on Netflix before I rolled into the office this morning. But it's important, folks, because 98 degrees Fahrenheit, west-northwest there, a couple miles west-northwest of Martinez Lake, Arizona, is staggering because it's the hottest February day ever recorded in Arizona state history.
Wow.
That's the average high for nearby Yuma on May 27th. That's not normal.
But hey, Mark, you got your wish. Arizona made it on the map, finally.
Yep, finally.
Although I think the people near Martinez Lake might be screaming uncle.
Sure, already, right. Screaming uncle here in late February.
Right.
This does not bode well for some of the stuff we've been talking about with how dry it's been in Colorado. Right. You see stuff like this in the latter part of February. We're gonna it's gonna be an interesting year.
It is.
Already has been. All right. -18, way back up in Pittsburgh, New Hampshire, once again, close to the Canadian border. I find it interesting too, CJ, that our extremes for now, each day, are near one of the borders, either the Mexican border, sometimes it's La Puerta, or Hidalgo, or way down here near the Salton Sea. You're within a few hours drive of Mexico.
Yep. Hey, even in South Florida, that water's a border, and
that's true.
Key West, it's only 90 miles to Havana.
Right. So we're not getting, for example, here any national low temperatures in Iowa.
Nope.
And that's a terrible thin stroke line. But sometimes we get Colorado.
Yep.
We've had Peter Sinks, Utah.
Right.
But everything else has been up here in the northern tier states for the low.
Right.
And then, like I said, South Texas over here and the Rio Grande area. We've had Arizona, California, and then Florida. And I just think that's interesting. The weather geek in me, the geography geek, I find that to be as come on, now I'm going to lose. Paul Giamatti says, fascinating.
Yeah, that train left the station, ladies and gentlemen, and Mark was not on it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's the only impressions I can sort of do. Fascinating. All right, Paul Giamatti. So where are these places? We talked about this post here from Colin McCarthy. 98 degrees there in southeastern or southwestern Arizona. So where is it? Martinez Lake. Oh, we're back to our Google stuff not working. Thanks.
There it goes.
So here's the municipal outline of it. And if we click away and grab our Google Street View person and just throw them down here right in the middle of this parking area, there you go. That's Martinez Lake. Hot and sultry there yesterday. Back out just a second, show you a different area around that region if I can. Let's try this right here where it heads right down towards the water. There we are. So yeah, this part of Arizona, southwestern Arizona, very, very hot. Yuma area, you'll see triple digits in the summer easily. This picture, by the way, way back in 2007. Nobody's been out there since 2007. Wow. Even though the map says 2024, but the copyright notice, but geez, Google not sending anybody out there for a while.
Right there along, what is that, the Colorado River?
Yep, that's the Colorado River that is going to have some problems this year.
Yep.
If we can't get some serious snowpack way, way on up here in Colorado.
Right.
And a lot of that feeds down into the Colorado River Basin. And eventually, CJ, as we get into spring and summer, I want to find some experts in the state of Arizona, maybe somebody from Arizona State or the University of Arizona. There's a few of those folks I know on the Twitter. Somebody from the Weather Service. We can get our friend Jeremy from Sierra Vista and talk about this, because Arizona, the wildfire season and so forth and so on, we're going to have some water problems because of how unsnowy it has been in Colorado. Meanwhile, and it faded to black on us. Pittsburgh, not Pennsylvania. This is New Hampshire.
Pittsburgh without the H in New Hampshire.
Right. And I find it interesting that it's got this giant municipal boundary around it. Like, what the heck? Pittsburgh is huge.
Yeah, that Pittsburgh definitely is large, but that's because nobody lives up there in the White Mountains of New Hampshire.
I guess that's it. So let's just throw our Google Street View person here near Pittsburgh. And oh, look at that. Look at that cabin. Oh, there you go. You could write a good scary novel like Stephen King would, and something like that.
That or Live Out the Apocalypse, one or the other.
There you go. Oh, look at this. This is beautiful.
Wow.
And this was done in September of 2022.
Very picturesque.
Yes, look at this log cabin looking deal right here. Oh, look at that. Literally looks like Lincoln logs.
Yep.
Oh, a lake. Hey, something shiny. Let's drive down the Google Street View. What a world that we can
do. Candy.
Right?
Ooh, piece of candy.
Right, exactly. Another log cabin kind of deal. I bet you can find that on Airbnb. I bet you can. There's no way that's not an Airbnb at some point in its history. But yeah, it was -18 for the national low temperature up in this area of the country.
And that's, ladies and gentlemen, why it's not more heavily populated.
Right. And they are very, very good with that.
Yeah, they're very happy with that up there.
And let's go back to the banter. So I want to tell you, let's see if I can remember this. Let me text Mike Farrow something real quick, because there is something, I think it's in New Hampshire. What was the name of that lake that you were telling me about that has the planes land on it during the winter? All right. So there is a lake in New Hampshire. Speaking of -18, Mike Farrow, good friend of mine, known him for almost 30 years, gone with us on a few missions. He helps me to springboard ideas off of here locally. Radio station guy, weather geek himself. Just an all-around awesome dude. Hopefully he'll see this and respond. Here it comes. This is a good one. He was telling me about this place where his wife and him go in the summer. His wife will go up there for weeks at a time. I think the family owns a house. As he's texting it, you got the 3 little dots.
Right.
Type it out, Mike. Come on. Maybe he's watching the show. I'm going as fast as I can, he says. Just waiting for him to finish it. Anyway, they go up there during the summer. It's very picturesque, and the lake will freeze during the winter time, and they have a period of time there where they land planes on the lake.
Oh, yeah.
And it was apparently in the movie What About Bob? And I still have the 3 dots going, so I guess he is sending me a full book report on what this lake is. All I needed was the name.
It's not that giant lake name in Massachusetts, right? That everybody tries to pronounce.
No, it's not that one. This is in New Hampshire. It's like Lake Chickamauga or something. It's got some interesting.
Yeah.
If he'll ever send the damn text, I'm gonna have to just search up. Okay, here we go. Sorry, Mike. He's typing it too long, so we'll ask ChatGPT. What is the famous lake in New Hampshire that was in the movie What About Bob that people land airplanes on during the winter when it's frozen? So ChatGPT is going to beat out Mike Farrow. Lake Winnipesaukee.
Winnipesaukee. Okay.
That's the famous lake.
Hey, you got Bill Mullen on there too. He just chatted the same thing. That's funny.
Gotcha. It's got Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss. And in the winter, when that lake freezes, Winnipesaukee, when it's solid, people do indeed land small planes on the ice. They drive vehicles.
Yeah.
And it's up there in Alton Bay, New Hampshire. Yep. I guess I know what it was. Mike had to try to type that out and probably kept misspelling it. So it took him 3 minutes. Most associated, and it's a tough one. It's Winnipesaukee.
Yeesh.
So there you go, Lake Winnipesaukee.
Pick names of places I'll never be able to spell off the sound for 500, Alex.
Or land an airplane on, because neither of us has a pilot's license.
Nope.
Nor a Cessna. So that reminded me of that as I saw that little lake there in the shot, Lake Winnipesaukee. Thank you, Mike Farrow. So speaking of the YouTube and the chat and all that, let's see who all we have. And by the way, it is Talking Weather for the 26th of February. Good to see everybody. Here's our chat, and we will show that on the stream. And there we go. So, national high will probably triple digits in southern Texas today. Interesting. Good prognostication, PB. That will be interesting. We'll see. We have Nadine on here. Timothy says Lake Winnipesaukee is not far from Mount Washington. Did not know that.
Did not know that either.
I did not know that. That's Johnny Carson attempt. Somebody said they misspelled it. That was Bill. He tried to spell it before. Because I can't scroll back on these, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but good to see everybody on the YouTube chat. We appreciate it very much. We'll come back and visit the chat some more in just a moment. But first, let's continue on with the progression of today's programming stuff for you fine folks. And we will leave the Google Street View behind and take a look at the satellite. Hadn't done this in a bit. Here we go. Sun coming up over the lower 48. We call that demarcation between night and day, the Terminator.
Right.
That's true. You hear the jet flying over, one of those Air Force or Navy jets flying right over Mark's house. CJ, I live like 2 miles as the crow flies from ILM.
Yeah.
And they do these touch and goes, and every once in a while, this big Navy jet flies like 500 feet above my house.
You know, I just see somebody in a control room somewhere watching the show going, send in the jets.
Yes, indeed. Sometimes it's Harriers and sometimes it's the Ospreys. They do.
That's awesome.
And our good friend James that owns ILM Small Engine Repair, he lives right next to one of the runways. And anyway, back to the story at hand, because I got distracted from the jet flying over.
Talking about shiny objects, I spy the jet stream.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good way to segue into that. So we'll also spy a big fat ridge of high pressure sitting out here. Subtropical jet coming up and over. And then we have some action like that. And if you can fly from west to east, taking advantage of that, you save a little bit of fuel, you do, and you get to your destination a hair quicker.
Yep. It'll be a fast flight from SFO to ATL today, man.
Yes, absolutely. And probably coming over these mountains over here would be some turbulence. I didn't pull up the turbulence stuff today. And by the way, that was a great call yesterday from CJ, that the turbulence thing that looks like this and then has the deal like that. And I was like, what the heck is that? It's like a stick figure that lost his head.
You know, I'm not exactly artistically inclined, so that's how I would draw a stick figure.
Exactly. But that was the turbulent signature. It looks like that.
It's
And
funny.
it had this little deal like that, and that's the mountain wave, basically.
Yeah.
And you can clearly see the energy coming up and over the Sierras here. And
Yes,
so
you can.
I would bet that there are some Sigmets possibly for that
More
area.
than
For
likely.
But down in the Caribbean, some pretty good easterly flow at the low levels, followed by upper level winds in the opposite direction. Get used to that, because with El Nino, this area right through here is probably going to be closed for business for much of the hurricane season, barring the occasional window that will open.
Right.
Not a complete shutdown, but all of this area starts to warm abnormally so. You get upward motion and all that other stuff, and you typically roll up the Caribbean and the western parts of the main development region.
Yep.
My neck of the woods, a little rainy, a little windy as this system comes south, and not quite a high-res shot. Let's see if we can find some high-res stuff to look at Florida.
Yeah, I was about to say, meanwhile, down here, we can't even buy a raindrop.
Let's see here.
You might try the Gulf. Yeah.
Yep. And how about some True Color as the sun comes up? So the good thing is the fires are not showing up big time here. But again, these are not your super high res imagery. But look at the Gulf overall, all the different patterns that you see down there from the cloud cover. Really neat stuff. So what does this all look like on the National Weather Map? Well, I got to get rid of that because my hotkeys are interfering. There we go. The National Weather Map from, try again, generally benign today. Wow. This is good to see. Yep.
Very quiet.
Pretty good, as Larry David would say. Dropping all kinds of pop culture references on you folks today. You ever seen Curb Your Enthusiasm?
I have, I think, once or twice.
Yep, that's his main pretty good.
Yes.
And it is pretty darn good for the lower 48 today. I am curious, though, what is this color? I haven't seen that in a while. Oh, that's wind, of course.
That's a wind advisory, or I guess a high wind warning.
Yeah, so let's look at it. So some of these wind gusts, damn, look at that. 75 miles per hour, 78.
Yeah.
At East Glacier Park, 82. Good grief.
Yeah, that's hurricane force wind gusts there, folks.
Where does Harrison Ford live up there in Montana? I know he's got a house up there.
I thought he lived in Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Oh, yeah, I guess it is Wyoming. Sorry. Not up on all my pop culture, apparently. But nevertheless, 82 miles per hour in Browning, Montana. That's getting it.
Yeah,
dang.
No kidding.
So you got the wind issues up here as such. So, yeah, interesting. Very strong winds along the Rocky Mountain front. Pretty cool with the graphics here. And then finally, Friday night to Saturday, light snow. Hey, you'll take whatever you can get anywhere in the Rockies at this point. Oops, went too far. The pinks, these are all your red flag warning areas. And this will really start to pop up more, I'm guessing, in this area in the coming weeks, because they're going to be pretty wet through here, as we will talk about moving forward. So Florida, got some problems down here with dry air.
Yeah, you still got that red flag warning for portions of the metro Atlanta area, as well as the northern part of the Space Coast. It's really just that area so far today. Yeah, we got some problems, to say the least.
30 to 50% low humidity, winds gusting 20 to 25, and we're really watching out for the fire problems in Florida. Not a lot of assistance from Mother Nature to get some rain in there. Late week, though, starts to change. I like these graphics. These people do a great job.
Yeah.
And they're not generative AI either. They've got obviously
look at the little palm trees in between, the Melbourne, Florida. Neat. I've never seen these before.
Pretty cool, man. I like that. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, this is definitely, Mark, this is something I like to see. Obviously, we love our sunshine down here, but man, I saw a post today, 100% of the state is in some form of drought. It's the first time
really
records started being kept in 2000 that has ever happened. So, we need rain desperately. and we'll take whatever we can get right now, because especially once we get into April and May, it's going to get harder and harder to get that rain until our rainy season starts cranking.
Well, let's look at the total accumulated precip over the next week or so real quick. Plenty up here in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Alabama. Finally, some showing up down in Florida out to 1 week, 168 hours out, but not a lot in South or Southwest Florida. Pretty scant.
It looks like a lot of this is going to be aimed at the Nature Coast area as well as the East Coast.
Right.
Why, I don't know, but north of Tampa Bay, pretty much, Pasco, Hernando, Citrus, and then points inland, you're going to be looking at some more rain, some much needed rain all over the state. But, basically south of the Tampa Bay area, you can't buy a raindrop. So here in Sarasota County and points south along 75, it just doesn't look good, as well as up in North Florida. So
yeah, that precip hole, like, geez. Yeah. In fact, just verbatim, nothing right here, 0. Like, we'll see about that, but that's pretty remarkable. That over the next week, GFS is not putting out any precipitation.
Nope.
For those counties off the top of your mind.
That looks like Duval. That's the only time you'll ever hear me say that. And Clay, maybe Baker. So the area, Jacksonville, Clay County. That's where you'd be kind of looking. I don't know if I buy that 100%.
Right, exactly. It's just one of those weird things that shows up.
But, the overall trend here, less than an inch of rain for most of the state. And we need every drop we can get.
Right. Just not too much for too long. That's the danger there in wishing for it.
We need a good soaking rain is what we need.
There's some good stuff up there cutting through Missouri. More than 6 inches, according to the legend. So we'll have to keep an eye on the potential for some flooding issues. And when things finally start to get going in the Northeast for heat, more rain, and so forth, we could have some flooding issues in New England because of all of that snow. So looking at the total, this is everything, liquid and frozen, the next week up in New England. And not too bad, which is good because, again, you don't want it to be raining really hard on top of snow melt with warm temperatures. So we'll be keeping an eye on that as we move through the period. All right, so temperature-wise, and this is awesome. I'm glad to see this. Let's go down to thermodynamics. Over the next week or so, a big warm-up coming.
Yeah.
And, look at that. There are some triple digits showing up. PB was right there. Let's just 18Z is usually a good time frame. There you go, 93. Hey, it sounds like the dog's back, CJ.
Yeah, he is.
Howdy, doggy. No cats in the office today. You mess with them. You leave the door open, and they don't come in. When you crack the door or close it, they either scratch at it or sneak in. So you have to trick them and game the system.
Right.
But yeah, I think PB could be right that maybe triple digits in part of the Rio Grande Valley for today. Yeah. But very toasty temperatures coming over the next few days into early March. We're going out to a week's time frame. And let's just back it up. 18Z on March the 4th. Much of the southern states here in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Right. And look at that freezing line, Mark, all the way up in Canada.
Yep. So that'll work. I'll take that.
That definitely looks like spring on a map.
And March, the beginning of meteorological spring, so it makes perfect sense.
It does.
All right. So let's look at the SPC real quick for a few things. We'll look at the convective outlook because we got a little bit of action out there, especially today. Marginal risk in parts of the deep south, extreme southeast Arkansas, northeast Louisiana, right through Starkville and Columbus and Mississippi, as well as Tuscaloosa, Birmingham area. CJ, what's the trigger here?
Yeah, it looks like we have a cyclone that's starting to really overspread the area. There's going to be cyclonic forcing down there as this trough kind of amplifies. We saw that coming in, and we're going to see it, continue to dip. So you're going to have that exit region for the jet stream is going to be over the marginal risk area that's been outlined today. So we're also going to have a plume of steep mid-level lapse rates, as well as an area of pretty decent shear. So we could have some severe storms, including some supercells, develop and intensify through the late afternoon hours. But today, the biggest hazard, and it's only a 5% risk, is going to be hail.
Yep. Severe hail, an inch or so in diameter or larger. Possible, not particularly likely. Tornado threat, very low everywhere. The wind threat, but it's the hail. So maybe some small, up to an inch or so, possible. That'll put some dents on your cars. We're getting into that season. The warmer things get, the more tape we start getting and all of that good stuff. And we'll talk about that more and more with some lessons and some tutorials to get everybody as educated as you can be as we head into spring severe weather season. So there's the categorical for today. For tomorrow, all right, let's do it. Let's try to get something going in Florida. But
I like seeing that. I like seeing
dry thunderstorms. We have to have some rain because the lightning can cause some problems.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially with how dry the state is. The state's just a tinderbox. We need rain. So hopefully tomorrow, with that, that stationary front kind of parking itself, we could use the rain.
Right. And tomorrow, again, very little of pretty much anything because we don't have a marginal. Day 3, popping up here with some energy coming into Northern California in vicinity. Oklahoma, there'll be a few chasers looking for something out there. Why not? And again, Florida, as we get towards Saturday, maybe a general overall convective pattern supporting a few scattered showers and thunderstorms. But again, let's get it to rain and not just lightning on everybody and cause fires. All right, so let's look at what Pettis was talking about. And of course, he does just unbelievable work all throughout his website, his Patreon, all of it. He is on the Patreon, right? I think he is.
Yeah, I don't know if he's on Patreon. I know he subscribes to ours.
Right. I thought this was interesting. A very good write-up about all the stuff that's happening, big changes this week. Coming in the week ahead. So more your realm, CJ. So take it away.
Right. So for those who don't know, this has been kind of a bit of a controversy lately in the severe weather sphere. So right now, the Storm Prediction Center, they put out these outlooks, and I wish I would have had one pulled up just as a reference. But within the risks, they always put out, and Mark, I don't know if you can go to the SPC and pull up a archived outlook. Just do something. I'm trying to think of a.
Got to figure out how to do that. Whoops.
So I usually just Google SPC Outlook Archive.
Okay, let's do that. Let's get rid of the telestrator because my hotkeys will interfere.
Because it's better to explain,
Sure, yeah. All right, so SPC what?
Outlook.
If I can type.
Archive. Okay, so it's going to be the first one. Okay, so in the dates, I'm trying to think of a decent severe weather outbreak in the last 3 years. You know what? Let's do, what was Easter Sunday 2020? Because that was the last real big outbreak I can think of. April 12th. So I would do April 11th through April 13th is the date there of 2020.
So what are these days right here? What is that? 022.
So do 2020, 04.
So 2020.
04.
04.
What did I say that was? Hold on.
11th.
1-1, and then 2020, 04, 13. That's how they archive their dates. That's their date format. So when you click Retrieve Outlook, so for anybody that doesn't know, this is how you can view past outlooks from the Storm Prediction Center. So let's go ahead and go down to, let's do the 1630Z on the 24th or on the 12th. So it's going to be down a little bit.
Oh, down. Even more?
Or wait, no, up, sorry. It's been a minute since I've actually pulled these up. All the way to the top.
These are all the 11th still.
Did you put in all 3 days?
Yeah.
Hold on, let me see if I can. Because it's hard to explain without some sort of Let me see if I can find one for you. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to send this to you.
Okay.
That's the one we want.
We'll figure it out. This is all part of the learning process.
So I sent it to you through the Discord Messenger.
Indeed.
Direct Messenger.
All right, got a message from Jen. We'll be bringing her in after CJ and I solve this problem. All right, very good, CJ. So let me go back to screen sharing here, and we will accomplish this. I think this is the one. Nope. Darn it. Try again, Mark.
On the left side. Screen share.
Oh, yeah. Dang. Otherwise, we disappear. All right. So, finally, we good?
All right. Yeah, we're perfect. So if you want to scroll down, so underneath each and every one of these outlooks, they also, put up a probability. So for example, I love the tornado probability one. If you want to go up to that, that's right under the categorical, because it says, here's the probability of a tornado happening within 25 miles of any given point on that map.
Right.
And what they used to do is they would put in an area that the severe weathered weenies call hatching. That's that dashed area with the outline.
Right.
So that represents a significant severe potential. That means that not only do you have a probability of a, tornado within 25 miles of any given point, there's actually a 10% or greater risk of an EF2 tornado or higher.
So that's what that means right there, that
area.
Thing.
That's that SIG severe parameter. And they do this for each and every one of them. Now, if you want to go back to James's article, because that, I think he has some examples of what it will look like in there.
Right.
Towards the bottom. Yes, so this is perfect. So in the new one, they're going to change the way that those hatchings look. So if you look down where Mark and I are kind of hiding the whole thing down there in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, there's going to be multiple layers now of that hatching. And that's going to signify different risk levels within that risk area. So whereas before you were only able to say, okay, all of you within that hatched area have a 10% or higher chance of seeing an EF2 to EF5 tornado within 25 miles of you.
Right.
Now we're able to say, okay, here are the actual levels within that threat. It's another way for us to communicate additional risk to the general public. And I want people to be aware of this. Yeah.
Look at this. It's like different hatch colors and
and I know it may confuse people, and that's the big thing, out there.
There's more layers now. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was something similar when we looked at the new forecast cone. Here's how I feel about it. And I don't normally throw my opinion out there. I think the more information we can give people, the better. And in this case, if you live within that pink zone that has all that stuff going on, I'm going to go, something can't be right here.
Right.
So nothing else changes in terms of the other risk levels. Everything else is the same. What we're changing is how we communicate that significant severe potential. So these are your big day outbreaks that you're going to be seeing things like this.
So in another way to look at it, the greatest risk is here.
Right. And it does. It kind of draws your eye right to it because of the hatching patterns, if I'm being honest.
Right.
And it stands out a little more. It's another way to say, okay, here's where this is. And again, I always encourage people, check out all of those risk potentials. You're going to see this on high wind risks as well as hail moving forward.
What I worry about, though, is you see something like this and people say, well, that's where the greatest risk is.
And if it
I'm
doesn't
over here, I'm in charge of a big event. We're going to keep that event going because we're not here. And then this is where the EF5 goes through.
Right. So, I mean, it's just, for me, it's another way to get that information out there. Remember, it is up to the general public what to do with it.
True. And for meteorologists and social media
Mhm.
influencers and the blend of those that
Right.
are all out there, the Facebook people, everybody, us, to communicate effectively. And I think a big part of that is going to be to explain why is this the highest risk. So not just
Right.
the what, but the why.
Mhm.
And that is what I have done with Hurricane Track for a long, long time, and have been able to build a career out of it because I try to explain the reasoning behind what we're looking at. So
Exactly.
not just the shiny, colorful graphics and whatnot, but why would this be the case? So it's a great write-up here from James Pettis. It's on the Twitter, and I will pin this and post it and all that good stuff. Link to it in today's description of the video that we are currently building as we continue live.
Right.
But really great work.
Yeah, absolutely. James does a great job. And just so that way everybody's aware, these changes do not take effect until March 2nd. So if anything happens between now and March 2nd, you won't see this. But James has a very, I would argue, it's kind of a stupid proof way of explaining it.
Yeah,
And
he did.
really
He's gotten a lot of accolades about it from people saying, man, I couldn't have, I think somebody from the SPC said I couldn't have done a better job myself.
Yep. And I love what he does here. So I like the Signetti references down there.
Sure.
Any of my Big Ten faithful, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
But this is a very, very detailed write-up.
It is a very detailed write-up.
Out in the wild, not from SPC. This is from Mr. Pettis.
Mm-hmm.
And this is really, really well done. So good job. And I hopefully people like from CNN, great explanation of and very helpful breakdown. Thank you for this. Super helpful. So yeah, glad we could show it here.
Yep.
And if you want to dig into it, we'll post a link to it in today's description once we're all wrapped up. All right, so we're wrapped up with that segment. Let's get back over to the banter because we have Jen Naramore waiting here, and let's bring her in.
Hey,
it's time.
Hello, boys. Hello. How are you?
Checking in with Jen. So she's got some rain above her, I spy.
Yes.
So wherever she is, it's raining, and so give it to us. Where are you?
All right. Yeah. Mark wrote to me yesterday. He goes, "Don't tell me where you are. I don't want to know. It's a secret." So I am not. He has no idea. CJ has no idea. I am someplace that was hit in the 2011 super outbreak, and the elevation right in front of me here is about 4,800 feet.
I think I know where she is.
All right. Go for it.
Right. So go for it. And it's currently raining. I'm trying to get through the shower so I can step out, and I want to show you all something here. But it proves that now the exact spot of where the tornado went through, where there were fatalities, is about 2 miles from me. And there were 2 tornadoes. And so what are you thinking, CJ?
Are you in Ringgold?
Okay, no. But that's a good guess.
Close.
The tornado that hit here was spawned from the same supercell as Ringgold.
Okay.
So I am in Camp Creek, Tennessee.
Oh, wow, you're in Tennessee.
I am in Tennessee. I'm in Greene County. We call it the Camp Creek tornado. And then not too far north, it was the Horse Creek tornado, both rated EF3. And we have not done a deep dive into these tornadoes, but we do have kind of the quick synopsis. And we have found the fatality information here. And where I'm sitting is at the Camp Creek Ruritan Memorial Park. And we discovered that there is a memorial here for the people that died in both tornadoes. And so I'm hoping this rain kind of eases up a little bit. It's been kind of sporadic on and on. It was a very fun ride this morning through the mountains, but I'm looking right at the Bald Mountains and peak right near the Tennessee, North Carolina line. So I'm not too far from there. And I get so distracted by the mountains and seeing the fog and everything. Sure. I get, just like every geeky meteorologist, I get distracted by clouds and the sky and fog and all that. But to focus on the Camp Creek tornado, it was rated EF3. The max winds, or the max width was 1,500 yards. Path length is
Wow.
16 miles. Yeah, tornadoes do happen in mountains, everybody, and
Yes, they
of
do.
course, you know, that is not a true statement to say that they do not hit mountains. But there were
Right.
6 fatalities in the Camp Creek area, and they were all within 1 mile of one another. There were about 220 injuries, and this was spawned by the Ringgold Apison tornado, and within just a few minutes of this one forming, the Horse Creek tornado formed. And I'm going to see if I can get a couple of details on that. There were 2 fatalities with that, so 8 total in this very rural area of Greene County. After I leave here, I'm going to be heading into Greenville, and I will be heading to the Historical Society to talk to folks there about this particular event. But then also there was a tornado that hit in the Greenville area in 1967. And so I'll be doing some research on that as well. So the next couple of weeks, I will be in East Tennessee. I'll be spending a lot of time in Knoxville and doing some research there. They have a huge historical center in the Knoxville area. So I'll be able to cover a lot of the tornadoes that hit into the eastern part of the state. And just really excited. And little tidbit of Jen's life, the nomad. I used to live in this area, not in Greenville, but not too far away. When I was little, we moved here. I went to elementary school in Cott County. And so I'm getting a chance to see friends and hang out with them while I'm in this area. And it's been really great that I've had lifelong friends. But you know, you don't realize when you're little what you have around you. It is gorgeous in this area.
Oh,
You
it
know,
is.
the scenery is amazing. It's rural. It's just beautiful. And even with the clouds and fog, it's a really beautiful place. On the Horse Creek tornado, again, 2 people were killed, 600-yard width, 14 miles on the ground. And it formed just north of the Greystone area, Telford, and through the Horse Creek area. And again, 2 people passed away. So I'm going to try to sneak out of the car here, guys. And because I think the rain has kind of eased just a little bit, I'm going to see if I can get you a different view.
Oh, wow.
So here I am. That is the Bald Mountains. Bald Mountains that way. Can you see me all right?
Yes, I can.
All right. So see how distracted you get by the scenery, but they've done a really great job here at creating this little memorial. It's a very peaceful place.
It is beautiful.
Yeah, it's a really
on a
nice
day like today. You know, we laugh because Appalachia can be so dreary sometimes, but they really put that in one of the best places you could put it.
Yeah. And they've got just a little nice seating area. You can come and just pay your respects. And guys, I'm finding a lot of these small memorials along my travels. And if we stumble on them, we try to go and visit. And I was able to find a few in Middle Georgia when I was there. So folks, if you're listening and following along with what we're doing with Tornado Talk, if you know of these small memorials, please, shoot me an email, memorial@tornadotalk.com, so I can come visit. It's very important to me. But these are the 8 folks that passed away in the Camp Creek and Horse Creek tornadoes, April 27th into the 28th of 2011. And it's just.
Sorry, go ahead, Jen.
Go ahead. It's just I don't know. It's just it's sobering.
Right. And Jen, I was just thinking about that. These were late evening, almost overnight. And, they don't get talked a lot about because during the day you had those giant tornadoes in Alabama and Mississippi, and rightfully so. People remember when they think of April, the 2011 super outbreak, they think of Tuscaloosa, they think of Birmingham, they think of, Smithville, Mississippi, all of these areas that were really heavily impacted. But what a lot of people don't talk about, and that's why I thought you were in Ringgold, with the mountains and, you don't hear about Rainsville. You don't hear about, these southern Tennessee tornadoes that were killers that came under the cover of night.
That's right. Yeah. And they were just as strong. I mean,
oh yeah.
Yeah. Now we do have an in-depth narrative about the Ringgold Apison tornado. We actually wrote a Kindle book about that. We took our story that we have on Patreon and we put it on a Kindle book. It's our only ebook that we have, but it is the Ringgold Apison story. A lot of powerful stories out of that event. But yeah, the super outbreak was just absolutely tremendous. And we tried to cover as many events as we can. This Camp Creek, Horse Creek, we did not get to in terms of an in-depth summary, but we will be covering it for the memorial to talk about the lives lost. So when we are doing our writing for the memorial, our focus will be on the fatalities, but we will still be doing what we've always done. And that's taking the tornado from the start of the path to the end and saying, hey, this is what happened. This is the damage that occurred. And talk about the areas. And it's just something, guys, to actually be where the tornadoes occurred.
Right.
It's been very humbling. It's been an amazing journey so far. This is really kind of the start of me doing this whole nomad thing. And the Middle Georgia stuff was amazing. I'll tell a quick story here about being in Barnesville, Georgia, because we wrote an in-depth story about that event. And I went last week to the Historical Society and ended up in another cemetery. I keep going to these cemeteries, but it's been very important to go because we're discovering the history. We're discovering folks who have died. But I went where the 2011 tornado went right over Grove Street. And that's where 2 people were killed. And the landscape is just completely different. And that was a very sobering event as well. But I met this historian at the Historical Society. And he was so excited to be traveling when talking to me. And we got in the car and we went to the cemetery and we got back in the car and I said, hey, you know what you're doing? And he goes, what? I said, you're chasing tornado history.
Right.
And he just grinned. I'm like, thanks for doing this with me. So I'm meeting a lot of people on the road and partnering with these historians and getting some opportunities to go back and do some tornado talks. I have an invite to go back to Clearwater, CJ.
Love it.
To go down there. So I'll be doing this as much as I can. It's important, guys. This is my heart. This is where I'm supposed to be.
And, you know, Jen, you guys do such an amazing job, guys. I had the wonderful chance of working with Jen on, you know, some of her research here in Florida. And what she does is so important. It's memorializing those lost. Yeah. And, you know, we don't realize it's what we estimate 22,000 people you estimated that their lives have been prematurely ended by these monsters, really, of Mother Nature. That they're the ultimate. You know, one of my favorite quotes from Twister is when they're discussing the F5 when Melissa asks, you know, and he goes, what would that be like? And the guy goes, the finger of God. Because it is, you know, and you can still see in these stronger tornadoes generations later where they came through. You can see the scars on the landscape. And, you know, with the 15, I can't believe it was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
The super outbreak already of 2011, you know, with that anniversary coming up, this is, you know, it's pretty sobering, you know, thinking that day in May is a lot of people, as James Spann refers to it.
Yeah.
Or that day in April. Sorry.
April. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So since we've last seen you, you've finished Georgia, right? For now?
For now. Yeah. I ended up having to punt a little bit. I wanted to get to Columbus, Georgia and didn't make it. I went back to Albany and took some time back down that way. And I need to go back. I found some archives I hadn't been to yet. Spent some time in Middle Georgia and now up in Tennessee, at least through next week into the beginning part of the week after. And then I don't know. So we'll see what happens next. I'm kind of just seeing, but I am going to the Mississippi State Symposium at the end of March. I've never been to that. So I will be going there. I actually put in an abstract to see if they'll let me talk and we'll see if I can tell the nomad story there and then kind of go from there. But yeah, there's something about just kind of just going with the flow, and which is totally out of my comfort zone. I'm this organized lady, but it's been a good experience just letting go and just see where God leads you next. And this has been a really powerful few weeks for me.
Well, I'm glad you're going to the MSU symposium. I'll see if I can talk Greg into going up there. He's teaching remotely from Gulfport, but I'll say, look, you got to go up there. You got to meet Jen because we're going to be working with you once we get out to Tornado Alley later this spring. We'll talk about that more when we get there. I'm trying to hold back, but I'm very excited that you're going. I spoke there myself in 2016, 17, and 18, I believe it was.
Oh, that's awesome.
Met a lot of people that helped with something in the future. So that networking, the collaboration, I met Dylan that way. Taylor Trogdon, who's now out in Colorado, who's done a lot of different jobs. He was with the Storm Surge unit. That was pivotal with our Michael success. So those symposiums, you know, I met James Spann for the first time in person at one of those symposiums. So I'm glad you're going. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, who's that James Spann guy?
Right.
Just kidding. I know that guy. No, he's awesome. He's a huge supporter of what we do, and I love it.
So the tornado history in Alabama is, I remember my grandmothers telling me their stories from when they were little girls all the way back in the 40s and 50s, and Terrible Tuesday comes to mind as one of them. So it's really good that you're doing this, and it's been seemingly working well. No hiccups, no problems.
Yeah, not too bad. I'm just hanging in there. I mean, it's
right. It's grueling.
You get normal life, but I just when you are digging into these stories and you're going back and you're looking at folks who have really had their whole life upended, whether they lost their property, they lost their livelihood, they lost a family member or a friend, your life and what you go through is just, you just go with it. It really is something. It's just a life lesson. I want to honor these folks, and because all death is tragic and it's hard, but there's something about the tornado because it happens so quickly and it changes everything so quickly. And it's being able to go deeper scientifically, and also with the social science. Where were folks? Were they trying to get to shelter? Were they trying to outrun the tornado in their car? Was it in a rural area? Was it in a town, a big city? Where was it? And being able to share that type of data with the National Weather Service, I think, is going to be very important.
And you've told us too about those that have lost their lives in school buildings, especially many, many decades ago. And
it's
good that somebody's actually tackling this. And we hope that one day you will finish, that we don't have any more deaths to add. But it is a Herculean task, and we appreciate you sharing your stories with us. We'll check in with you next week. No vacations for me anytime soon. I went down to the Bahamas with Mr. Cornelius to celebrate his 50th. So I appreciate taking the week off to do that. It was important. He does so much for our back end, as you know.
Oh yeah.
And, but I'm back, and I was looking forward to this. And I didn't think you'd be in Tennessee. I thought you'd still be in Georgia or maybe Alabama. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you sometime next week.
You bet. Thanks, guys. See you soon.
See you later.
Bye.
Check in with Jen. There's the graphic that it's so good, CJ. You did a good job with that. I'm sorry I didn't show it to lead off, but there it is nevertheless. All right.
Oh, good.
So I want to skip ahead to Melissa. And for that, I'm going to bring in our special guest. So CJ, you can't see my control system, right? You don't know who it is?
I don't know who it is.
All right. So the big reveal for today is a scientist down at the Hurricane Research Division. And I'd like to welcome to Talking Weather, Andy Hazelton.
How's it going, sir?
Your meeting got done early. I saw you waiting over this is better than Zoom. I like this a lot better because
it's
hanging out. Cool. So yeah, we have Andy Hazelton. He's been on a Hurricane U session many moons ago. And I figured, the Melissa TCR came out yesterday, and you flew that hurricane, which people think that I'm crazy driving into them. Man, and Stan Goldenberg, I've known him since 2001 personally, and he's invited me to get involved and come down on a flight many, many times. I even had one for Ophelia in 2005 that was scheduled, but I gave it to Jim Eds. I said, you can have it. He's like, he was in Wilmington. He drove down to Tampa to get on the flight. I think it was a P3 flight. I just can't deal with the turbulence, Andy. I'm sorry. So we're glad you can.
Yeah, Melissa definitely had lots of that. It was,
Yeah.
So.
Well, I don't have a bio prepared. That's on me. So tell us, who is Andy Hazelton for those that don't know?
Yeah, so I'm at the University of Miami, CMIS. So University of Miami employee, but I work at NOAA's Hurricane Research Division, and I do a lot of stuff with hurricanes, hurricane modeling. If you're familiar with the HAFS model, HAFS.
That we are.
Yeah, I'm one of the developers, and we do a lot of the developing and testing of that. But then I'm also do the hurricane flights. So one of our big things we do here at HRD is the research flights on the P3. To collect data that both gets fed in the models and is also used, to research and understand these hurricanes better. So, I usually go, anywhere from, 5, 10, 15 flights a season, depending on how busy it is and when I'm on the schedule. Last year I was, had the experience of being on Melissa. And that was definitely, one for a lifetime.
Yeah.
Sure.
I saw, sorry, I was to say, I think I saw, you posted a video, Andy, right after that flight of the turbulence. And I remember talking to Mark after that, and we were just amazed the extreme turbulence, but when you guys emerged into that clear, what is that like? That has to be one of the best, like second to going to heaven, I guess. I mean, just the beauty of it. And
That
these
was
storms
unreal.
they're beautiful, they're destructive, but there is a beauty to it.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say this one and Michael were probably the two
Mhm.
that I really experienced that. And unfortunately, both of them, it happened at a time when it was like, intensifying and about to hit land. So it's sobering too. But yeah, scientifically and just, if you study Kirk, you just you really don't appreciate the power and the size of what you're actually dealing with, until you're in there and just see how big it is. So Melissa was, especially that right before landfall, I mean, you can see on the satellite you just posted, it's, about as perfect and symmetric as an Atlantic hurricane's ever going to be. So,
right. And I think that's what helps us to understand once you get that round look, the more round the weather seems to be on our planet, and it probably works elsewhere too. Physics is generally physics. The more round something is, usually the more intense it is. And it's just weird how that works. And let me jump back over and show. Oh, I got to do there we go. That satellite animation again. And let's get up here. So lots of it out there. Goes 19. I can't believe we're up to 19 already. Category 5, and that's an understatement. I mean, we saw the upgrade, if you will, in the wind speed anyway, to 190. Just an incredible force of nature that unfortunately went over the west side of Jamaica. This will be studied, talked about, etc., for a long, long time to come. But what happened yesterday was the TCR, the Tropical Cyclone Report.
Right.
It's interesting. I do not know these folks. There's enough new people now at NHC that I don't know them, that I can remember off the top of my head. But they authored it. And there's a lot that goes into this. As we know, some of my data has been into some of these. Josh Morgan will have his data, other like weather flow, ground-based data, you name it. But Andy, what kind of stats and work from HRD and your flights, et cetera, helped this report be what it is?
Well, for all of these reports, really, they take a look at all of the satellite and flight level and drop sondes and radar. There's all sorts of things that go into these, and they're really useful both if you're a scientist or just kind of general public. I think you can get something out of it. But yeah, for this one, if you read the section on where they actually came up with that intensity number, they were looking at a lot of different things. They were looking at the typical things, the flight level. They looked at satellite estimates, and the satellite estimates for this one were just off the chart, like over 200 miles an hour. And then about that, and there were also some experimental observations that we had in there. This sort of vertically scanning radar that saw some extreme values, like something like 240 knots. Even just like a 5 tornado. But the thing about those measurements, and unlike that record drop sonde that I processed, is they're not necessarily sustained winds, and they're also not right at the surface. And so that's one of the tricky things that NHC has to do, both in real time and then also when they go back, is how do we adjust that from a gust to what like a sustained wind would be, and then also from whatever height down to the surface. And so there's some guesswork, and so they kind of based on that, the rules of thumb and sort of their their kind of best estimates, and combine that with the satellite estimates, decided that it was 165 knots. And I think it's tricky because we just don't have a lot of data in this is as strong as it gets. So we're sort of extrapolating past the boundaries of where we actually have data. But I think it's a reasonable estimate. It could have even been a little bit stronger maybe, but that's what we had data for.
So I'm going to talk about this area I highlighted, the 1 second wind of 194 knots at about 1,500 feet or so, 500 meters. What is the ROARS instrument? Again, all this new stuff coming out is just incredible. It's hard to keep up with. What can you tell us about that? And I know it's spelled out, the acronym, the Rain Ocean Atmosphere Radar System, but wow, all these new tools, Andy, and I guess it's helping, right?
Yeah, so that's one of the cool things on the P3 is, we have the tail Doppler radar, but then we also have these new instruments, and, we can do sort of research or experimental. So this one's like a vertically scanning radar. So as you're flying, it's kind of taking a look below the storm.
Yep.
And it's using a radar to get, the winds in the boundary layer. And also it can kind of give you some surface winds or estimate the surface winds. So it's a pretty new instrument. I think last year or the year before was the first time it was on there. And so, it's providing us information in that lowest part that, we can't fly down there safely. We don't understand.
Right.
And so, we'll have this, it can show us some of these extreme things happening down there. And, the tricky thing is, like I said, it's new to us, it's new to NHC. So they're not quite sure yet, how do we convert this to what the public typically sees as the 10-meter wind. But it's giving us, another piece of the puzzle of just the kind of the craziness that can go on down there.
And Melissa definitely was that. One thing that CJ and I were absolutely blown away by, no pun intended, in the safety of our houses here in Florida and North Carolina, respectively, was how much lightning was occurring in the core as it approached Jamaica. Can you explain that? I kind of know a little bit about it, but for our audience, when you see that kind of lightning, I remember Michael became very lightning-y in the hours before it made landfall, but nothing like what we saw in Melissa. And was Melissa some kind of a record breaker? Because, dude, the lightning was just wow. And you had to have seen it. And even in the daytime, flying. I mean, my goodness. So what's the lightning?
I've seen lightning a couple times flying, but never enough to see it in the daytime till Melissa. And probably the one the only storm that I could say that from my experience that really compares to is Dorian. It seems like there's still a lot of research to understand exactly what lightning tells us. Some people say it's just convection, and some that say that could be RI. But the one thing I've noticed, and I think some research has shown this, is when you get this symmetry to the ring all the way around, like we saw in Melissa and Dorian, and I think in Michael too, that's a signature that you only see in the most really extreme. So we're talking about like going from Cat 5 starts at 160 miles an hour. You start to see this. When you start to see that, typically you're getting these storms up to 170, 180 miles an hour.
Wow.
Because you just have this perfect symmetry, these all around. And the other thing you can kind of see in that satellite on the left is these little these sort of pinwheels and shapes in the eye. Those are the mesovortices that kind of spin within the spin. And again, that's something you only see in the really high end hurricanes.
And go ahead, CJ. I got plenty
I was
to
going
talk
to say,
about.
Speaking of the mesovortices, there are so many misconceptions, I think, out there. Even for myself, I've lived through hurricanes at this point. I'm on the West Coast. I'm on the Gulf Coast. So we went through Ian, and, I've seen them. I obviously, people down in Miami, they'll remember Andrew was famous for those. Can you explain a little bit, kind of bring it down for the layman, what exactly these are? Because you hear them kind of described as a sort of a tornado, but it's not tornadic.
Mistake them for tornadoes.
Yeah.
They're not.
Yeah, they're basically swirls within, the hurricane, the big swirl. And then within the big swirl, you have lots of smaller swirls ranging from, when a mesovortex, you can probably think of maybe as the size of like a big thunderstorm, like a supercell. They basically are like supercells. And then even within that, you can have smaller scale, like tornado scale. And that, so there's, and Andrew, Fujita, did surveys and showed some of those smaller scale things. And honestly, those can cause, a lot of the damage in these extreme hurricanes is these local areas of enhanced wind. And it gets tricky for classifying because, NHC likes to use what they call the sustained wind.
Right.
And these like an average. And, what is that? These mesovortices, maybe it doesn't classify, as maybe the 220 miles an hour, 220, 230, it's not a sustained wind, but if you live on the coast of Jamaica, you don't care if it's a sustained wind or not, it's hitting your house. And so,
exactly.
What was interesting in our Michael footage from the GoPro there at Mexico Beach, capturing the entirety of that right front quadrant. Now, it went white out for a while, but I never really saw what looked like those bursts, that mesovortice signature. But in Laura, a couple of years later, we had a camera focused on the Capital One building, and Greg Nordstrom was there, and our colleague Brent, and a lot of storm chasers down at the bottom of that thing. That's a story for another day. Luckily, they survived all the glass, but they said you could hear the mesovortices.
Yeah, you could.
And then one of them hit the building, and it looked like an invisible hand, like Godzilla or King Kong, just went and just tore out the glass. You could actually see the wind through the visualization, blowing out the building. But some hurricanes that I've been in, I've never seen them. I remember in Katrina in Gulfport, you could see these small swirls would come over and hit the forest right behind the hotel we were staying at, the Best Western there. And then we talked to people after Katrina. They were in Waveland, and they all said it was the tornadoes, the tornadoes, the tornadoes. And we all know, I think as solidly as we can, definitively say with 100% accuracy, in the eye wall itself, that core, you're not going to have a tornado per se.
Right.
The outer bands, of course, and that's a different mechanism. We've seen the tornadoes. Ivan had a very famous tornado that came ashore along the coast there. Was that Pensacola or Panama City Beach or somewhere?
I haven't had a lot of them, Yeah,
and then Milton, of course, in that right front quadrant, way out in front of the core. But the core itself, it's just not structurally possible, I guess, to get a true tornado.
Right.
Not that it matters. The end result's similar.
Like not tornadoes in terms of a funnel touching the ground, but in terms of the local extreme wind, you definitely can.
Right.
And that's something that hurricanes are. Yeah, it's really varied there, like you said.
And Mark, I will say I remember during Ian, we were in the northern eye wall, so we weren't even in the strongest part of the storm, but you can definitely hear them kind of rotate through every so often. You get that punch within the general. It's almost like a roar, but then you get the punch of wind in the midst of that. That has to be those mesovortices going over, and they're fascinating to me because we don't understand a lot about them otherwise. As a general public, we really don't. But they're, like you said, Andy, very destructive. And I know that Fujita put out that famous study after Andrew, and that's what I really think of when I think of the damage in Homestead and South Dade County. That's really those areas, especially like in Country Walk, you see it out of those old damage photos, those mesovortexes would come through and just obliterate the homes.
Yeah, I think even on satellite, you looked at Andrew, like down where I live in Homestead now. That was what really, there's kind of a bigger mesovortex that sort of rotated around because Homestead was south of the center. But you had this mesovortex rotate around, so it still got like 200-mile-per-hour wind gusts all the way down there, and that's
the wind is what scares me the most. And I've talked to Morgan about this for years. That dude, like, there's just no way. I don't. People say that the storm surge is frightening, but the storm surge moves slow enough, and I'm not ever going to be there with it. That's what the cameras are for. But the wind, they say hide from the wind. I'm sorry, but hiding from 200-mile-an-hour wind gust or more. I just don't. I can't, and that's why for Laura, Mike Farrow, my colleague, that was 4 of us down there, me, Brent, Greg, and Mike. Brent and Greg stayed at the parking deck there, and I know Tim Marshall. He does his talks, and he talks about one of the first things I do is find out where I'm gonna be to ride out the storm, and he shows these slides of not here. Not here. This looks like a good place, and it'll be like a parking deck. Still, dude, 200-mile-an-hour wind gust. I don't care. And it's probably because I went through the core of Charlie in an SUV on the side of a highway. And Max Mayfield said during the eye, well, Mark, I hope you've seen the light. I was like, absolutely. The F if I'm going to do that again. And here Andy's flying into those things with a turboprop. Like, I can't wrap my brain around it. So structurally speaking, Melissa was certainly one for the ages. How about computer model wise? You're part of the HAFS program, a big part of it, right? And so how did the modeling do to pick up on this intensification process?
It did pretty well, honestly. Not perfect, but compared to what, we had 10 or 15 years ago, the fact that 7-8 days out, a lot of the models picked up on the fact that if this, if it does stay south of Jamaica, which was kind of a question, if it stays south, it doesn't turn up, we could get extreme intensification. And, one thing that Melissa, the other thing that happened is it didn't undergo an eye wall replacement cycle, where we talked about where the outer eye kind of weakens it. And then, it never did that. And that was sort of a surprise.
Right.
Yeah, and so that's one of the things we're going back and looking at with our data and the models is to understand why that happened. But just so many things aligned to make this just such an extreme case, and it was pretty well predicted. I think the report may get into that a little bit. That it actually was pretty well forecasted. And the other tool that did well with this comparatively was the Google DeepMind, one of our new AI models. And, especially for the track, it, not perfect, but like 5-6 days out, it kind of started to hone in on Jamaica. And so, we're getting all these tools that allow us to sort of see these things now, several days out. And it's, how do we use that? How do we communicate it? That's really key.
Are the tools coming too quick, and like kind of flooding the zone, so to speak? Because, you got the Euro AI and all the ECMWF folks are working on, and the Google, surely IBM's got something cooking, like there seems to be an awful lot. It's no longer done a consensus.
Well, yeah, I think there definitely are a lot of things out there, even as someone that's, follows all this stuff, it's a lot to sort through, that's why I think like following, for the layman, definitely following NHG, because they work with these companies, they kind of like know what to use, and they sort of sort through all that and incorporate it. But it definitely feels like things are changing fast, and there's all this new stuff out there. So,
indeed. So what's ahead for 26 research wise? Anything you can talk about, improvements that we know? Almost certainly we're going to head into an El Nino type warm INSO event, so probably going to knock down the overall numbers, but who cares? Whatever sneaks through, we got to be ready for it. We know that. Where's HRD and everything research wise headed as we go into 26? I can only imagine with all the stuff that's going on with the new supercomputer and AI stuff. I mean, it seems to me that we're maybe headed towards some new frontier and some new breakthroughs. Possibly.
Yeah, got a lot going on the model side. There'll be a new version of HAFS, kind of a smaller upgrade. Then we're working on some bigger upgrades that hopefully go in a year or two. And then on the observation side, we're going to be continuing to. One of the big pushes is to use drones more. The Black Swift, so we'll be doing a lot more of those. And we've gotten some really extreme data with that too, and so we're learning new ways to use those. And it'll be another year for this RORS instrument is going to be on there again. So we'll probably get an idea of what that instrument's actually telling us, and hopefully we don't have any more 200-mile-per-hour storms, 20 miles off a coast. But
agreed,
it's there's definitely a lot we can learn from it. And so and AI too. Like I said, we're hoping to start developing like a HAFS AI version this year. So might be a couple years before that's real live, but there's a lot in the pipeline. So
there'll be a data center somewhere in Dade County for Andy's HAFS AI.
Yeah, sucking up all the water, unfortunately.
Well, I appreciate you spending some time with us. That report came out, and folks, I will certainly link to it in the description of today's video. It's a lot of work that goes into it. Yeah. And it's very detailed, and it's changeable too. It's malleable. It's not the final one. Stuff gets updated when new data comes out. And Andy, will you be presenting at any conferences and so forth over the coming months?
Yeah, I'll be at the AMS Hurricane Conference in San Diego into next month. I'll be showing some Melissa stuff, and also something else that's actually new this year is we have a wind gusts parameterization, basically for like landfalling hurricanes to actually measure the wind gusts, and that's going to be live in HAFS this year. So that'll be something that like you guys will definitely be interested in. Because the gusts are what do the damage. So
exactly, and especially for all of us that live along the coast. Andy, you live in South Florida. We're one of the most hurricane-prone spots in the world, and this is definitely Hurricane Alley, as they say. People here, I think, over the last 5 years, we've gotten a little bit more hurricane aware. Obviously, we went forever without a landfalling storm, but God forbid we ever are staring down another Andrew or another Michael. These are tools that people are going to be able to use to really make important decisions, because it's no longer just there's no longer a monopoly. It's no longer just a one-way street with information, with social media, with people us, that podcasters. It's much more two-way than it ever has been in the past. So when one of the things closing out, what do you suggest for general public, other than obviously the NOAA, National Hurricane Center?
How do you filter through a lot of that noise? Because there's a lot of it, Andy.
Yeah, no, I think obviously for life and death decisions, follow the NHD. They're the pros, but just find a couple of trusted experts. You guys for sure. There are others on social media that I follow and interact with, and Twitter, it can be good and bad these days, but it has it still has a lot of that interaction between experts and the public. So whatever platform you're on, find somebody that isn't just about hype, but that, gives good information like you guys do. And,
and ask questions, people. Ask questions.
Right.
Most folks love that engagement. It's not for their egos. They like to talk to people. They're very good communicators. So don't be afraid to reach out. CJ, myself, Andy, anybody that you know of that's in the field, ask them. And most people will respond to you. And it's a really neat feeling. And it's right there at your fingertips. Andy, the hardest thing, I talked about this at a few conferences over the years, and I mentioned it in the thing that I participated in a little over a week ago, where you were on talking about the eyewall replacement cycle for that seminar. For us in my project, wind data gathering has been the hardest thing to do.
It is.
Either from gremlins to theft to, you just missed it by a few miles, and the budget. Like I cannot drive around. I mean, at least I think it's Texas Tech. It has 48 stick nets, and University of Florida's got a few 10-meter towers, but the lack of ground observations, even in 2026, is still staggeringly bad, and because it's hard.
Yep.
And you think about, there's a lot of weather stations that are out there. You look at Weather Underground or whatever, but a lot of those are poorly maintained. You get a lot of hot readings, 183 miles an hour or whatever. There's no way. It is really, really hard to do. We're not giving up, but I have just got a deep respect when you guys fly the plane out there, and at least you got some cool tools that can estimate as best you can. And I'm looking forward to the Gus stuff coming out with the new versions of halves. Lots to keep up with. So thanks for hanging out with us for a little bit today to talk some about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Have a good one, and always stay safe. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
See you.
See you.
Andy Hazelton, everybody. We appreciate him dropping by. Just a little sort of segue into the Melissa report, which is out there. Be sure to check that out, and I will put a link to it. TCR, the Tropical Cyclone Report. I can't remember. I don't really keep score because it's just, I just do what I do. But our team has contributed a few data points.
We have.
I think a lot comes in from WeatherFlow. They have a whole bunch of stations around the country. Some of the individual chasers, Josh, Max, some of these other folks, they contribute. Jeff Piotrowski. A few mariners that'll be out there. Occasionally you get one from a Cajun that was on his shrimp boat. And he didn't leave, and his anemometer clocked in whatever his barometric readings were such and such. And
on Jenny.
Yes,
that's what I think
exactly. And so the next hurricane that comes over your location, whoever you may be, if you've got a decent weather station and a functional, reliable barometer or whatever, reach out to the Hurricane Center, tag one of those specialists on the social media, and say, hey, I've got a wind reading or a pressure reading I'd like to share for X hurricane. And you never know, it might get featured because more data definitely needed. All right, let's see where we are in today's show. We're just about done, but there's a few more things to get to before we wrap things up. Again, the Tropical Cyclone Report, part of the National Hurricane Center's off-season duties. They put these together, and I'm telling you once again, CJ, it's just weird to me. I don't know Larry, I don't know Jose, and I don't know Aiden.
I don't think I even recognize their names. They must be brand new. That's awesome.
And it is. It's a good thing. They need as many people as they can down there. This is important. Hurricanes literally have shaped the country, economically and developmentally, you name it. And that's why we're here. That's why we are Hurricane Track.
Exactly.
So that's the PDF file, and we'll link to it. And it'll get updated as new information comes out. All right. On to, let's go back to this because you did do a cool graphic for it, and I don't want that to be wasted, so to speak. It is Throwback Thursday. I love that. You did a really good job with that.
Thank you. Thanks, ChatGPT.
Yes. So it's easy to do, right? So for today's Throwback Thursday, I'm going to revisit a hurricane from 2014 that I was in along the North Carolina Outer Banks. In fact, I will brag a little bit about this. I am the only person that I know of that has ever been in the eye of a hurricane over Oregon Inlet. Of the billions of people that have ever lived on this planet and that will ever live, probably, unless I do it again, I think that's a fact. That is Oregon Inlet. That's the that was still the Bonner Bridge back in 2014. Now it's the Bass Knight Bridge. They've replaced it. And that is my radar scope GPS locator in the eye of Category 2 Hurricane Arthur over the Oregon Inlet. Yep, July 4th, 2014. And I want to show you a few highlights from this because that was an interesting storm. Let's just jump around and look at a few things here. Oh yeah, forgot. We'll show that in a minute. Let's look at the wind data. So I set up one of our weather stations on top of the house that I frequently get to stay in Rodanthe. Right. And our peak gust was 70 miles per hour.
Wow.
And this is what I'm talking about. It is very difficult to sample the highest winds.
Yep.
Some of the weather flow stations out in the Pamlico Sound did record higher wind, obviously. They were more over open areas. They were closer to that core. But the track of Arthur, I should have done this, so I'm going to do it now. Hurricane Arthur 14 and the old Wikipedia. So let me show you. That's a beautiful satellite picture of it, by the way. It was very close to Wilmington, formed off a mesoscale convective complex that moved off of the southeast United States mainland, got out over the Atlantic, and it took off and made landfall in Cape Lookout area. And I can show you the track here. You can zoom in on it. And then it cut inland across the Pamlico Sound. And I was in Rodanthe. I worked with Jim Cantori and the Weather Channel on that one. That was my first year officially working with the Weather Channel. Wow. And we had a couple of projects that we were working on, including this drifting surge cam that I wanted to put out. That's a story for another day. But I found this was interesting too. This is a post here. The temporary bridge on Hatteras. This was one of the viral pictures that I've ever had out there. The Weather Channel and Cantori both retweeted that. And I hope that I put a picture of it in here. Yes, I did. That was the highway. They were working on this temporary bridge. Let's see if we can get it to work. Because of Irene in 2011, that storm surge, this is the sound right here. The Atlantic would be over here.
Gotcha.
Highway 12, you're heading south this way. So the DOT was building this temporary, or I'm sorry, a new bridge. Gotcha. This is the temporary one. We called it the Lego bridge because it literally looked like they made it out of Legos.
Right.
This was cut because of Hurricane Irene, which also went across the Pamlico Sound.
Right.
And it was the Sound side storm surge that did the cut, not the Atlantic.
Right.
So my story is I was in Rodanthe. I had a weather station set up there. I had this drifting surge cam idea that Carrie and I came up with where we would have a camera box that would float and go with the surge. And we would see what it sees and track it using a satellite tracker. And it kind of worked a little bit, but we kind of abandoned it because it was just seemed a little gimmicky to me. I don't know. Maybe we could revisit it one day, but we actually tested it during Arthur, and I can pull up the map of where it went. We were down at Real Water Sports. It's a place where you can rent jet skis, and they do shows and whatnot. And let's see. Oh, yeah, here's a picture of it right here. So that's it. That's the drifting surge cam. It had a GoPro, right? Oh, this is terrible. Had a GoPro over here and a live Logitech cam here. And these are little acrylic lenses that we put in.
Right.
And it had a giant battery inside that powered everything. And it also created sort of your ballast, if you will. And so the water line is right there. The camera box would not sink. That's one thing that did work about it. It would not sink. It would not flip. It was like an oil tanker. It just sat in the water.
Right.
And waves couldn't knock it over. It's like Weebles wobble, but they can't fall down.
Right.
I think the design flaw that we made it out of a black case, it would overheat.
Yeah.
And everything inside was squished with foam to try to keep everything in place. and our cameras would overheat. And so I didn't really revisit it. But we tried it, and I set it up at Real Water Sports there in Waves, I think it is, in the Outer Banks. And you can see that is where we started. Let's try to get the telestrator here. Right there, that's Real Water Sports. That's where Cantori was reporting from. I did a live hit with him. We set the camera out. Arthur's winds were coming this way from the ocean. So the Atlantic Ocean's over here. We'll put A for Atlantic, P for Pamlico Sound on this side. So the sound was blown out. And the water was about 4 to 5 feet down. It was basically just mud in this little basin right here.
Right.
And I remember telling Cantori, the water's going to come up 4 or 5 feet. And he said, BS. No, actually, it absolutely will, because they're only talking about a 4 to 5 foot storm surge. And that was the first year, CJ, that the Hurricane Center switched it from above mean low water level to above ground level.
Right.
AGL.
AGL.
Like, no, Jim. You got to get out of here, dude. Like, if the surge comes in, it's going to be 5 feet and your SAT truck's done. That is exactly what happened. As the eye passed that evening over the Pamlico Sound, I should have pulled the tweet up. That's it pulling away. Sorry, let's get this one right here. As the eye passed over the Pamlico Sound, it came up. I guess I don't have that particular one, but trust me, I saw a tweet from Jim. It was like all caps that we are safe. We got out of there just in time. They had to leave because that surge from the Pamlico Sound came in, and I can prove it to you. So here's me from the Logitech camera. This is live video at the time, streaming over, I think it was Verizon. I had a hotspot out there.
Right.
And we don't really need to hear the audio, so I'm going to kill that. This is exactly what it looked like. I left Rodanthe that night as the eye was going to my west because I didn't want to miss being in the eye.
Wow.
And I figured it's only a 2. I can handle it.
It's only a 2.
Before, right. So, and I said, I'll let fate decide. If I can't get north to P Island and the Bonner Bridge, I just won't. If the road is blocked, sand or surge or whatever, I'll turn back around and go back to the house in Rodanthe.
Right.
Luckily, I did leave because Rodanthe at that house had 4.5 feet of water. I would have lost the Tahoe had I stayed and, quote, been safe.
Right.
The surge came in, put the picnic tables at that house underwater. I would have lost the Tahoe to salt water all the way inside. It would have been up to the seats.
Absolutely insane.
So me driving north to get this video that I'm about to show you, as dumb as that sounded, saved my vehicle. That's a true story. So what's happening here? That is the storm surge right there. The bubble, there it is back in the background. It's coming up this way.
Right.
Arthur was pushing the surge up the sound, and I am not kidding. You can actually see it moving. I'll draw a line in there. And I'm coming in there, my fat rear end, because I wanted to get a low-angle cinematic shot of the surge coming at my iPhone. And while I was doing this, I didn't realize it was also pushing through different breaks in the sound side dune behind me.
Gotcha.
And the water was very deep. I had to drive through it to get back to the Bonner Bridge, which of course goes up, and I was perfectly safe. But yeah, look at the water. You can clearly see it coming at me.
And that's sound side surge, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So the surge bubble is literally moving up the backside of the Outer Banks. It's deep over here. It's filling in the low spot. And as I scroll through, let's just jump ahead. You see it coming. And I sat in the Tahoe tweeting it, wasting time. And all the while I did that, it got behind me.
Oh,
I almost lost the Tahoe.
Rookie mistake.
Exactly. So here is the view from my iPhone. Here is the view from my iPhone.
Top tier video back in the day.
Yeah. Yep.
Hard to believe that was 12 years ago almost now.
Yeah.
Or no, 17. Oh, God.
So look, you can see the storm surge. No, it's 12 years ago, 2015.
Okay. Yeah, I mathed correctly the first time.
So that is storm surge moving at you in real time.
That's nuts.
Yeah, look at that. And it's just working its way up that surge bubble. Rodanthe waves where Cantori was, it was already 4 to 5 feet deep. And that bubble like moves up the backside of the sound. And there it is. That's not time lapse. That's real time.
That is insane.
And that's the Pamlico Sound. And I was there right in the middle of that sucker. Hurricane Arthur, 2014.
And this is why we always say, don't try what you are about to see at home.
Exactly. Then I went back a couple days. Actually, I got stuck on the north side.
Right.
Couldn't get across that bridge, obviously. And all my crap was still at Dan's house in Rodanthe. And so I just had to leave. And I went to Raleigh and crashed because I was so damn tired.
I'm sure. And
a couple days later, I got a rental and I went back out with my son, Cole. And I put my Phantom 2 quadcopter. This might even be the Phantom 1.
Wow.
No, this is the Phantom 1 because that's a GoPro that we are looking at here. And I launched it just to get some aerials of Merlot Beach. This is a few days after Arthur. This is the Merlot Beach area. So this house is gone. I think these are still there. That's the Serendipity house that was in that movie Nights in Rodanthe with Richard Gere. And Diane Lane, I think is who it was. So let's see when I pan around the other way. Yeah, this is a GoPro.
Right.
Fastened. What had a little mechanism.
Yeah.
And you can see it's very shaky.
Yeah.
It's not stabilized.
This is before they added cameras to these things.
Right. No gimbal.
Yeah.
And you're looking south towards Rodanthe, and some of these houses are gone.
Right.
But yeah, Throwback Thursday, Hurricane Arthur,
wow,
2014. There you go. And I've learned a lot since then, that's for sure.
Right.
But
it's
to
funny.
This day, it's one of those little things. Nobody's going to be sitting around a Thanksgiving dinner years from now, whatever. You're not going to read about it at the Smithsonian. A little picture of Mark, and it says the only human being to ever be in the eye of a hurricane over the Oregon Inlet. But it's true. And you think about history, well, what about pre-settlement times? Well, the Native Americans wouldn't have been in a hurricane and whatever vessels they had in the Oregon Inlet, they would have drowned.
Yep.
And during all the other hurricanes, people evacuated, and there wasn't storm chasing, so to speak. And you think about some of the early chasers, Jim Leonard and others. Emily, 1993, they were in Buxton.
Right.
So there's just a little bit of a, hey, I'm the only person that's ever been in the eye of a hurricane over the Oregon Inlet. That's pretty kick-ass, and I'll take it. So there you go. One day, CJ, we'll have to bring you up to the Outer Banks and show you that area. And,
I got to get up there at some point. It is the land of hurricane legends in terms of like we are down here. That is the most hurricane prone part of the East Coast other than Florida. Yep. So it's somewhere I want to be at some point. I don't know if I want to be there during a storm.
So one thing about that area, I've been stuck there a few times from nor'easters.
Right.
Those coastal storms. The DOT will close 12 and it takes a few days and you get the high tide cycles and you're stuck.
Yeah.
And I don't care who you are. They won't let you out. They've never let me out, and I don't even ask anymore because I'm not special. Yeah. So during the one, I guess it was, gosh, I can't even remember. What's the one this year that I went out there for? The closest.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Bryce and Paige were out there, and they got stuck.
Yep.
Wow, that's sad. I can't even remember last year's hurricane season.
Aaron,
thank you. ERIN. Yeah. Thank you, CJ, for rescuing me from my early onset Alzheimer's. It's just a lot going on. It's all good.
Hey, if it makes you feel any better, I thought you were talking about a nor'easter.
yeah. Last year's Hurricane Aaron made that fairly close approach. Huge waves.
Yep.
And I was stuck out there for 3 days after that. I remember Bryce and Paige were as well. And
a lot of people
it happens. But I think I told you this. I know I told Matt. And I told the folks at Fox, one day before I go, when there is going to be another Isabel, another Gloria, big, bad, oh my goodness, where the Outer Banks are probably going to be changed forever, I am going to stay at Dan's house I'll have Jesse or somebody will take me down there, all kinds of supplies. His house is high up. It's several rows back off the Atlantic. And I will ride out a major hurricane in Rodanthe. I'll have Starlink, plural, because we have 3 of them now. I'll have more battery power. I can run a small city. I'll just pile all that into that house and go for the glory and actually be able to report from Rodanthe during one of those things. I also don't leave the house or whatever. I'll probably bring a bike with me so that when I'm done, I can ride my bike up and down 12. But that day will come.
It will.
Mark will ride one out at Dan's place in Rodanthe. Brad is out there. He'll probably stay with me. He lives just a hop and a skip away from Dan's place right near Rodanthe Pier.
Right.
So stay tuned for that. When will Mark be riding it out along the Outer Banks? We shall see. And I'll just be stuck. And my plan to get out after a couple of days of misery and documenting, and I figure it could be very helpful, especially with Starlink. Could probably help locals to make connections to people. Who knows? But once I'm done and it's time to go, I know a lot of people that live on the mainland. I'll just simply go over to the Sound, and somebody come over with a motorboat, jump on the boat, off I go.
Yep.
Gotta be smart. Extraction. That's the key. I got to figure out how to get out of there when it's over. And that's why I didn't want to go to Jamaica. I had no, who's going to come get me after I don't feel like it anymore in Jamaica? Nobody. I got to have my creature comforts. I'm sorry. But anyway. So that's Arthur back in 2014 for today's Throwback Thursday. And with that, almost 2 hours today, an hour and 42 minutes and some change. Appreciate Andy dropping by with a little bit of insight on Melissa. You could sit with Andy at like a Longhorn or a Texas Roadhouse or Cheesecake Factory for 4 hours.
Exactly.
And just chat it up about the stuff that he has done. And he's a young fella too, right? He's he's got a long way to go.
My guess is he's probably close to my age.
Right.
If I had to guess. I don't know exactly how old he is, but
I know you don't have kids, and I know he's got a daughter.
I mean, I'm old enough.
Right. But I think he might be a few years older, but he looks like a young dude and an up and comer he's part of the development of the new halves. I mean, wow. Incredible stuff. And we appreciate hearing from Jen Naramore. We'll check in with her next week as well. We still have tomorrow. We're not done for the week, but coming up Monday, of course, we'll be in March. Monday is March 3rd. A big focus of what we will do going forward is start talking about severe weather. Yep. And
how lost Mark. Here he is. He's back.
Weird.
Just on the other side.
And I got switched. That was really weird.
But yeah, we're going to be talking about severe weather starting next week. Mark, today I saw Trey from the YouTube channel Convective Chronicles. A lot of the weather weenies know he's going to be doing his. He's going to be releasing, I think I saw this afternoon, his 2026 forecast.
Yep.
So you're going to see more about severe weather, especially in the days to come. So stick around for that. We've got a lot planned for this year that I'm personally very excited.
Finally throwing our hat. I'll just say this. Yeah. Finally throwing our hat into the ring of observing tornadoes. I've never had an angle, and I always want to do something that's going to at least contribute to some form of science, either applied science, meteorology, or social science.
Exactly.
Nothing wrong with going out there and just seeing it and taking pictures. That's fine. But I want to make sure I contribute to something. The wow factor, just something. And we've got a good idea that we'll talk about once we get to March.
Exactly.
And yes, we're finally throwing our hat into the tornado ring safely. You'll see.
Exactly.
All right. That is it from us for today. We appreciate you tuning in and checking us out. Don't forget, you have friends, family, and colleagues that you can share the links either from the live show or when it's done later on to help it grow in popularity. The more people that learn about the weather, the better, in my opinion. So have a great rest of your Thursday, everybody. I'm Mark Sudduth in Wilmington, North Carolina. That's CJ Morgan down in the Venice, Sarasota area. We'll see you again tomorrow on Talking Weather. See ya. Thanks.
See you later.